As more attention is paid to carbon footprints and animal welfare here in China, many are gradually adopting low-carbon lifestyles. And this includes going vegetarian. Companies catering to vegetarians and vegans have been vying to enter the Chinese market. For more, let's go to CGTN reporter Li Jianhua in Shanghai. Jianhua, I know you are a vegetarian yourself. Is plant-based meat something you would consider?
Yes, Zhong, you're right. Apparently, you have done your homework. I'm a vegetarian, and when it comes to the beef burgers that I tasted a couple of weeks ago, actually, it tasted very much like real beef. And to be honest, Zhong, I'm not like 100% vegetarian. I'm called semi-vegetarian, or you call it selective vegetarian, because they still have some shrimps and also some fish and the squids to make sure that I have enough protein intake. Of course, there are so many other types of vegetarian diets, and depending on the consumption of eggs or dairy products, but it would only open a big can of worms. So attention is being paid, as you said, to carbon footprint and animal welfare. That is why an increasing number of Chinese population that is going green or going low carbon, and that is also why that an increasing number of international companies now going into the Chinese markets, which are not that saturated at this point. And earlier I talked to several of them. Now let's take a listen.
Going vegetarian is a trend in China, and food companies have sprung up to meet the demand for a plant-based future. David Yan, a vegetarian for about 20 years himself, opened his shop in Shanghai a month ago.
These are made from non-GMO soy products. You know, it's high protein level, but at the same time very low fat and no cholesterol.
In a country that's the world's largest consumer of pork, going green to protect animal welfare is still considered a novelty.
It's going to take some time, not just for us, but for the whole industry to spread the message. Because relatively, if you look at sustainability awareness and animal welfare, some of the other countries in North America and Europe have been talking about this for longer period of time, and China is just starting.
Bigger companies, including Burger King, have jumped on the bandwagon, offering up their own meatless burgers.
This is a plant-based Whopper. As a vegetarian myself, I don't come to a burger place quite often, and this is my first time to have a plant-based burger. So, as it says here, I have to try to believe it. Wow. It looks very much like meat. It tastes like meat, I have to say.
Burger King's veggie burgers are developed by Unilever, which entered the Chinese vegetarian food market last year.
It's still a bit different from real meat, and we're working to improve it. Since production is still quite low, its price advantage isn't yet known. As supply chains and production technology develops, the price will decrease.
To find out whether plant-based meats are ideal substitutes, we went to visit a lab at East China Normal University.
那么如果说长时间的就把这个植物肉当成是真肉一样吃，长时间可能会。
If we replace real meats with plant-based ones, in the long term, it may lead to malnutrition. For a majority of people, they can replace part of their diet with plant-based meats, either for environmental or health concerns. But I wouldn't recommend that people replace real meats entirely.
并不建议说大量的人群全部都把它全部替代这个真肉。
The total number of vegans and vegetarians worldwide is hard to pin down, and hurdles still exist for their lifestyles.
Yes, Zhong, being a vegetarian now in China is still a little bit difficult, as the restaurant options are quite limited. And we know the number of the conventional or traditional restaurants stood at around 5 million in 2020, but only 3,000 of them provided vegetarian food for the vegetarians and vegans or other types of vegetarians. Zhong.
Jianhua, the offers at restaurants is just one issue. The other one is, for now, plant-based meat is a more expensive option. Will the cost of switching to a different diet get in the way of people wanting to do it?
Yeah, Zhong, that's a very good question. At this point, the plant-based meats are more expensive or equally expensive compared to the traditional meats that we talk about. And now the vegetarians and vegans or the non-vegetarian people now only take it as something as a novelty, and they have the burgers out of curiosity. And that's a good question because that is about supplies and demands. If you look at the total number of vegans, vegetarians and all other types of vegetarians in 2020, the number stood at around 14% of the world's population according to The Economist. And if it continues to grow at the current pace, the number of vegetarians, the number of vegans alone will be 10% of the world's population. So we do see the increasing demand from the numbers. And also, if we look at the other side of the picture, that is the supplies, we know that an increasing number of international companies now are trying to get into the Chinese markets, including Omni Pork, which is owned by Green Mountain. It got into the Chinese market at the end of 2020, and at the same time, Unilever bought the vegetarian butcher and got into the Chinese market around December last year. And of course, only a couple of days ago, and we know that Beyond Meat, the pioneer, it is considered a pioneer in providing vegetarian food. It announced its collaboration with Jinjinxuan in Beijing, that is a 24-hour restaurant chain there. So we do see that there is an increasing number of suppliers in the Chinese market right now. And with the maturation of the supply chains and also the technologies, the prices will go down. Zhongshu.
CGTN's Li Jianhua with a live report for us in Shanghai today. Jianhua, thank you.